Let's say you've just started running and you want to measure your progress. How do you begin? How do you begin for the very first time measuring something that's actually of value? In this video, we're going to talk about the very basics of running metrics. In other words, how to basically time your run in a useful way. The most basic method, very old school if you like, is just to use a stopwatch. Now, in the old days, running track, somebody would be by the side of the track, literally one of those analog stopwatches. Okay, you can do better than that now. You can have your own digital stopwatch on your wrist. And the beauty of these digital stopwatches is that they are extremely simple. You literally just start them, and when you finish the run, stop. And providing you know the distance, then you can work out your speed. Now, if you don't time anything, then I'm not saying that's completely useless. Just going for a run at all, going for a jog at any speed, that is basically great compared to most of the population. The vast majority of the population are not exercising regularly. We know that in the stats from most high-income countries now, that the majority of the population are really inactive. So if you're running, look, I'm not saying you have to measure things, but if you want to progress, then measuring things is the way to go. So a basic stopwatch, yes, it will give you a start. And for at least 5 years, I used to run with a basic stopwatch and nothing else. Now you need to know pretty much the exact distance, but you can work out the distance on Google using Google Maps. Just draw a line around the area that you are running, and it will give you a pretty accurate view of that distance. There's a few other tools online that will help you work out the distance. But to be honest, if you want to vary your running route, you want to have a method of logging your distance. So the next method beyond the simple stopwatch is something like the Fitbit. And a wearable activity band will give you your steps and will try its best to work out your running distance. Now, it does your running distance essentially if it's not linked with GPS based on the number of steps sensed by the device. I've got another video and there's plenty online about how accurate are the step counts. To be honest, they're fairly accurate. But what is not entirely accurate is the stride length. Because if you think about it, how can the Fitbit know what your personal stride length is? The Fitbit is sold to millions of people worldwide, different standards, different ages, different genders. And yes, you do put those stats into Fitbit app when you launch it, but it's not going to know exactly what your stride length is. Now, some devices, including Fitbit, allow you to go in and put the stride length in there. And I've done that with Fitbit, but it really shocked me when I compared my actual run length with GPS compared to what Fitbit thought I was running. Fitbit thought I'd run 8.8K, but the GPS tracker said 10K. However, for a medium cost, relatively simple improvement on the simple stopwatch, Fitbit or another activity-based tracker is a good start. Now, as you probably know, there are GPS activity trackers, and that's at the 3rd level. So the more advanced level is to buy an activity tracker based on GPS. This is the Garmin 230, lots of other makes on the market. Personally, I find that Garmin is pretty accurate. It's fairly light, easy to carry. There is a slimmer version, the Garmin VivoActive HR, which has built-in, I think the Plus version has built-in GPS. But at the high end, measuring GPS is the way to go. Now, once you've got GPS, it's measuring the run anywhere you go, pretty much the exact distance, and it's measuring also the exact time. So it's measuring your exact speed. It may also give you a few other extra functions. For example, your run cadence based on the vibrations, in other words, the sensation in the watch. So we've got these 3 levels then, the basic stopwatch, the activity-based tracker, and then a GPS watch. Of course, you can just carry your phone, and if you don't mind wearing an armband or putting it in a pocket, personally, I don't like to carry that weight, but if you're somebody who doesn't mind carrying your smartphone, sure, your smartphone will pretty much do all those things. Okay, now you've collected the data. Let's go online and see what you can do with that data. This is when things start to get really interesting, because going online, you can measure yourself compared to others, compared to your previous runs. In other words, you can get targets, and you can also predict your race ability in a wide variety of races. For example, if you've only ever run 2K, 4K, or 5K, online apps will tell you what your predicted 10K, 20K, half marathon, and marathon times would be for a typical runner running at your ability and speed at those shorter distances. Okay, let's have a look at that. Okay, so we've recorded our time now and we've got our distance, so we can work out our speed. Luckily, there's plenty of online calculators that will do that for us. So first step then, when you've got your basic running data, I suggest you head over to this website here, bain.info. So as you can see here, you put in your time and your distance. So under calculate running pace based on distance and time, for example, I'll put in 5k time. My recent 5k time was 21 minutes 30 seconds. Compute run pace, so in minutes per kilometre, that's 418 pace, and in minutes per mile, that is 655. And in kilometres per hour, I'm running 16.95. In miles per hour, I'm running 8.67. And I can do a simple conversion, convert running pace between minutes per mile to minutes per kilometre or miles per hour. So I can convert between any metric just by entering the data on the screen here. So let's give that a try. Minutes per mile. So there we go. There's the conversion element there. But if you want to put time and distance in, you can do it there. So now go to the next section where it says training pace calculator. Here, look, I put in my 10 kilometer run. 45:22 was my recent PB, and click calculate. And you can either display as minutes per kilometer or minutes a mile. So let's stick to minutes a kilometer. So based on my 10k time, then bain.info is saying that an easy running pace, and bear in mind that that 10k pace itself is 432 pace. So it's saying if I slow down to 535, that is my easy, what I would call easy running pace. And if I was to do a tempo run, moderately difficult but still sustainable, I think it's for 1 hour, the tempo run, that would be a 438 pace. And the VO2 max training pace, which would be shorter than 10k, more like 4 to 5k, that would be 411 pace. And my long run training pace would be between 435 and 618. And you can also calculate calories burned, which is mainly based upon your weight and your run distance. So if I run 5k, 73 kilos, then my calories burned would be 295. But if I put on weight to 79, let's say, then of course I burn more calories because I'm moving more body weight over that distance. That's very helpful. Various metrics there in order to calculate basic speed based on miles or kilometers. But if you want to take it a bit further and look at projections, head over to the Macmillan running site, macmillanrunning.com. Now there is an app here which you can use, but I'm showing you the online version here. And if you go to calculate, then let's say you put in my 10k time, let's put in a fictitious time. It's super trained. This is not my 10k time, but somebody else who's running 32:59, for example. Press calculate. Now highlighted in the box here, there's the 10k established time at 5:18 pace. But you see Macmillan Running produces the projected times for every reasonable possible other distance, starting from 100 meters and going up to 100 miles. So what this is saying is if you're a typical runner who's running a 10k pace at 32:59, then if you ran 1k, you'd be expected to do that in the same kind of performance bracket at 2 minutes 42. And if you stretch yourself to half marathon distance, you'd be expected to do a half marathon in a really awesome time of 1:13. Now you can put a pro runner's time, an athlete's time, like Bolt, into here and work out what they would actually do. Let's try my data in here then. So let's put in the 10k more realistically as 45:22, and we calculate, and there's my honest 10k time, 7:18 pace. So I've never really run more than a 10k, but if I did run half marathon, it's projecting me as running 1:41. Now, as in 1 hour 41. But bear in mind, this is for regular runners, so often the high distance estimates are a bit ambitious. Now the great thing about this table is you can select the table, Control C, and Control V, that's copy and paste, and drop it into Excel. So I've just dropped my stats into Excel, and this is the chart that you see. So this is my running pace calculator now from macmillanrunning.com across all distances. And you'll see if I run these high distances around 50k, then the pace will of course drop. And this is displayed in seconds per kilometer in purple and seconds per mile in blue, with the green lines representing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes per mile and kilometer respectively. So you can see then that this data generated from my 10k run time can be extrapolated to project what I would get at other distances. Now, if that isn't sufficient, if those projections aren't sufficient, you can look at training places with movement and running. And this will tell you some projections based on not just your running speed, but heart rate, effort, and RPE, which is runner perceived exertion. So this is presenting heart rate max essentially as a percentage, and heart rate reserve, which is the difference between your heart rate max and your resting heart rate, as a percentage. Now, there are actually various different ways to calculate these race projections. I noticed that a site called run-down.com on Statistics Calcs Explained has the different models put up for your further analysis. So the classic model from the 70s and 80s is this Regal model, and it gives you the formula here. But there's also a Cameron model based on VO2 max estimate and Purdy points estimate. So using all of these, you can then go to the running space calculator. It's using these in the background. Let's put in my 5K time, which was 21.5 minutes. Press calculate. Now this site is giving you all different models compared. So the 5K time, which is the one that's obviously user generated based on actual data, is there, and it's saying that my 10K projections, and then the average of all these models, by the way, at the end, my 10K projection would be 44.35, which is quite interesting because my 10K PB is actually 45.22. So it's saying that I should be able to save another 40 seconds by running to my potential based on the pace that I'm doing my 5K. Or to look at this another way, if I'm running my 5K better on average as relative to the general running population than I'm running my 10K, which is not a surprise, seeing as I've only ever run 4, 5, 10Ks ever. Now this introduces the idea of your running performance. Your running performance can be gleaned here on heartbreakhill.org. So if you enter your age, and let's make up 21, which is obviously not the case, and a male running in 21 minutes and 30 seconds, then calculate my age and graded performance. It's saying that if I was 21 and running that 5K in 21:30, then my percentile is 60%. What that means is I'm in the top 40%, meaning 60% of runners are below me. So if hypothetically I ran that 5K in 15 minutes 30 seconds, I would be in the top 17% with 83% of runners below me. And if you're in the top 60%, you're basically doing well locally. If you're in the top 70%, you're doing well in your region, 80% you're doing well nationally, and 90% you're world class. So you could have some fun there by putting in known athletes' performance and seeing what stats they come out with. So that covers your running projections, basic running stats, conversion, and your percentile estimates. Now, of course, if you've got your data with GPS, you can go in a slightly different direction and use Strava. So Strava should be set to upload automatically from your GPS device. So here's a run that I did on the 19th of November. I ran 10K. That was the 10K that I did in 45:20 or thereabouts. You can see it was my PB 10K, and you can also see I collected the data with the Garmin Forerunner 230, which is a wrist-based GPS monitor. So initially, when you look at the data, we get the race splits, which basically means the pace across all kilometers, and pace is graphed out graphically here, and you can see I increase my pace towards the end of the run, try to sprint it out at the end, or at least increase into, let's say, a fast jog by that stage. But I was also wearing a heart rate monitor, and Strava is telling me that my heart rate was 153 on average, but the average crept up, of course, towards the end, and towards the end of the run, my peak heart rate actually was 167. Strava also works out your running pace if your watch delivers that data based on cadence, that is your step rate, and rule of thumb here is to try and get to around 180. If we turn that on, my cadence is quite flat, around 170 to 172 throughout. When I sped up, by the way, for the sprint at the end, it went up to 196, but pretty much all the run I'm around 172. Strava also gives you one other metric, which is the gradient adjusted pace. If you're going up or down steep hills, then it will estimate what your run would be on the flat. In addition to that, you can go into pace analysis on Strava, where it will show your highest and lowest pace for each kilometer, and you can go into pace distribution, and it's best to do that based on actual previous performance. So you can enter this time, and I've entered it here based on my 10k race performance. So based on my 10k race performance, I was running at tempo Z3 for most of the race, but I did push into threshold for approximately 15 minutes, VO2 max probably at the end for 7:28, and as I sprinted it out, zone 6 super threshold anaerobic for about 2 minutes. And we can also look at heart rate based on these zones, based on your custom heart rate zones. So I enter 150 or 150 to 163 as threshold, and above 163, that's because my maximum heart rate is pretty low, to be honest. My resting heart rate's around 30 to 35. And a really nice metric is the suffer score with points in the red, and on this race I set a PB for 163 suffer score and 139 points in the red. And if there's any local segments, you can compare yourself against the other runners in your area. So that's an overview of what to do with your running metrics. And remember, it all starts with collecting your correct time and distance data, and then if you can go one step further, collect your GPS. Okay, so that's my quick heads up on running stats based on running time, running speed. As you see, at the simple level, you just need your speed and your distance. More advanced, build in GPS. Use one or two of the apps like Strava that's available online, or one or two of the dedicated running apps. And then it helps you improve your motivation. It helps you improve your motivation to improve. And to be honest, that's what it's all about, guys. Keep that motivation, keep improving. Take care. Have a good one.